So I'm making a prediction that Melania and Trump will announce a legal separation in the calendar year of 2026, July to 2027. The United States is in danger. The United States is not in a place of safety in the next year. There is no way on God's green earth that it's not going to be a big, giant Democratic sweep. I think that they may take both the House and the Senate. My prediction is we're going to get a neurological disordered brain problem solved. The United States will have a female president next election. Lunatic astrology. Hello guys, today we're talking about the United States of America and its birthday chart called the U.S. Sibley Return Chart. And it's because on July the 4th, 2026, the United States has a birthday. Happy birthday, my fellow American friends and fam. I used to live in your country for a few years, so I kind of get where you're coming from sometimes, and I am Canadian. So there's no Trump derangement syndrome, but as we get going and we talk about the sky, there's something extremely unusual happening for the birthday chart of America. And it's going to take a year for us to see the full impact of it, but that is going to be that Mars and Uranus are co-joining together in a very potent conjunction, and that intensity is baked into this next year for the USA. I want you to think of baked in along the lines of when you were maybe firing up a kiln and making a pot when you were a kid, or even as an adult. Say some of you are potters or kiln firers. You're going to bake something into the clay. Once you fire the kiln, it's baked in. You can't undo what you've glazed. And so there's a way in which this chart is baking in the intensity over the course of 12 months, July 4th to July 4th, 26 to 27, of Mars, the god of change, the god of aggression, the god of action, the god of war, and Uranus, the shock and the surprise and the unexpected. And the explosive kinetic combination is awesome, but also somewhat terrifying. So we're going to bring into the awareness of the story what it might hold for the United States as a nation. We're going to look at the chart together, the solar return, the birthday chart of the country. We're also going to look a little bit at how that overlaps with the USA's natal chart. This video is maybe 20 to 30 minutes long. It will bring in other world events as well. We're not doing all signs astrology here. This drop, which will probably be on a Saturday, is just all about the world astrology possibilities from the US Sibley chart. Good news in the chart, though. We have some interesting asteroids like the one who comes in peace, who brings wisdom and medicine and architecture to the ancient Egyptians. His name was Imhotep. And Imhotep is tightly conjunct Saturn at the time of the United States birthday chart. And given this guy was a medicine and wisdom god, we may see some positive developments in the medical system and the medical technology and the medical breakthroughs in the United States over the course of the next year. And we have some other interesting asteroids, including Icarus, who fell with his melting wings from the sky, also baked like clay that has been glazed in a kiln into the next year for the United States of America. For those of you who like world astrology and you do like events of the world through the astrological lens, don't forget to like, subscribe, and welcome to this channel if you're new. My name is Lori Lothian. I am a Western tropical zodiac astrologer. I do all signs forecast here for you, and I also do world events. I happen to be a teaching astrologer. I've taught many, many students astrology, and this fall, September 2026, it's my 7th year teaching Sky Reader. This is my flagship program of Introduction to Astrology, where you learn to time your best life, be your own astrologer, and read your natal sky. If you're at all interested in this course, through till the end of July, you're going to find my best discount code I've ever created for $200 off. It's a super early bird discount code if you want to jump in early. We have guest teachers for each year, maybe 5 this year. With guest modules, you're going to have access to a learning vault of all the other guest teachers who've taught in my Sky Reader years. You're also going to have access to an extra week of teaching. I've extended it. As always, Facebook group, community, Q&As, and everything else. Go to the description box below, click the website for the early enrollment, and I hope to see some of you in Sky Reader. All right, so let's get rolling and let's get started. I am pretty good at reading solar return charts for my clients, and I'm learning to read solar return charts for the world and for world events. A solar return chart can never replace anything that is natal. In other words, it's the sky story for 1 year against the backdrop of a person or a nation's natal sky. So it is like, how does your natal imprint intersect with what is going on in the year of your birthday, age to age. And same thing for a country, age to age. This is July 4th. The United States has a July 4th birthday. This is the Sibley chart. And it's interesting for me because what I'm going to show you and what I'm seeing today in this chart is kind of also maybe as scary as it looks, quite positive in some ways. And the other thing I'm seeing is perhaps some exposure material about the UFO phenomena being highlighted in the United States birthday chart, indicating more information coming through to the people about the United States knowledge of or involvement with technologies or non-human interface with or extraterrestrial or interdimensional, I don't know, with the American government over time. So we'll see a little of that in the sky too. One more thing I was going to say about the solar return chart in general. It is an accurate usage of one's identity over a current year. So if you think about, I'm born as an Aquarius rising, you might be born as a Leo rising like Donald Trump, but then you cast your solar return chart and you're playing another archetype. Now and then you'll come back to your natal rising sign. Those are totally years in which you realign with your deepest essence and purpose, okay? But unless you're in one of those years where you're doing that complete realignment, you're kind of trying on some stuff like and playing a new role. So my solar return chart, I'm a Virgo this year. Sacred duty, purification, taking care of my health in my solar return April chart, being more panicky about the details and whatever else Virgo can bring me. So I'm playing Earth, I'm playing Virgo, I'm playing mutable signs instead of Aquarius fixed, instead of air. Donald Trump, on the year that he won the election, the last election, his rising sign, usually a Leo, right, was actually Cancer rising. And it was enough to tell me he probably would win that election. I wish I just relied on the solar return because his Cancer rising wasn't any old Cancer rising temporary identity. It was Cancer rising at 13 or so degrees of Cancer on the sun of the United States of America. It's also at the same place, also both his ascendant and the sun of America in that temporary ascendant year that he won, his temporary identity, right, in June 14th of 24, carried the signature of the dog star, which brings fame and power and wealth, because that son of the United States and Donald Trump's ascendant were fused as one. It's no surprise that Elon Musk has his ascendant in the same place. And all of a sudden we would imagine, because as of his June 2024 birthday through to the election, some importance in his life with Elon Musk. Well, Mr. Elon, Mr. Starlink, Tesla and SpaceX and X or Twitter, that guy backed Trump, right? And was a part of the Doge movement. So it even baked in the idea of some other Cancerian person being important to Trump in that election year and beyond. So I'm telling you the story to tell you how you can use your solar returns as well to compare it to your real story, your natal story, and what new elements may be emerging for you. Now, if you think about Cancer and what Cancer represents, it's home and homeland. And so there was also during the Trump administration's first year, between June and June, the onset of an attack against Iran last year, June of 25, that still is about what Donald Trump was acting like in Cancer rising, who wants to defend the home and homeland. Well, that was the premise or the ruse for going to attack mode of the enrichment facilities in Iran, right? Whether you believe that was Israel's behest or whatever, is exactly the kind of thing that happened. So there's almost like, I'm going to defend the homeland by bombing that country's nuclear enrichment program last year. So even the temperament of a Cancer, we think Cancers are mothering and nurturing and maybe like prickly defensive. Sure, they are all of those things, but they're also the fierce defender of home and homeland, like a mother hen. And whether you believe the rhetoric or not, he was carrying that archetype in that solar return of 2024 to 2025's birthday. Now, of course, Donald Trump had a birthday in June of 2026. And I will take a brief look at that after we look at the Sibley chart, and we might make some stories up from that too. I hope I'm not here more than a half an hour. I've got a much bigger video to record right after this one, but we're going to go ahead now and we're going to bring you into the share of the screen. So what we have here is the sky, the solar return on July 5th, 2026. The United States will be born again. I hear you. I thought you said it was a July 4th thing. It is. But your solar return chart can be a day before, day of, or day after your actual birthday. It is the astronomical movement of the sun to the same degree it's set when you were born. So astronomical doesn't mean calendrical. So here is the real birthday of the United States. It's after midnight on July 4th. Like you go through your July 4th celebrations, you go to bed, and around Philadelphia time, it is going to be around 4 in the morning. The United States is officially reborn again for a year, and it's its official birthday age. And technically speaking, when you look at this chart, I know it looks like a hot mess. I put a lot of asteroids in, as you can imagine, but you'll notice right away that the ascendant is in Gemini. Now you know that Donald Trump, I believe you know, has his sun in Gemini as well, around 22 degrees. So it's really opening up. There's an overlap between the natal sky of Trump and the natal sky of America. However, you'll notice at 27 degrees Icarus, the identity of America is in a condition of its wings melting and it's falling from the sky. That's what that could mean. It could be the character of America, the persona or the reputation of America. Yet Donald Trump's sun, right between that ascendant and Icarus, his natal sun, embeds the possibility of his wings are melting and he will fall from the sky. And that fall from the sky with Icarus has been seen in real time by me many times as helicopters and planes or objects falling from the sky. But it also is connected to a metaphorical fall as one reaches for the sun and your wings are melting because the sun is hot and the wax wings are melting and you fall. It's a reach for power. And so in a reach for power, it is potentially possible that the current president of the United States will take a tumble between July 26 and July 27. That is a prediction I'm having. I believe it might be a health tumble. And I think that J.D. Vance, by late this fall into early next year, will likely step into place based on many other factors to do with the Mars retrograde in Leo. So there is a lot going on in the United States this year. It's a very turmoil-rich year. Some of that turmoil is baking into shock and awe. Uranus and Mars co-joined together in the sky, bringing unexpected disruption, revolution, break free, break down, and breakthrough energy in the country itself. Now, from the United States Sibley natal chart, when it's born, right, its natal chart, its ascendant is in Sagittarius. And that means a lot of this material that we're seeing in Gemini relative to the Sibley natal chart is happening in the house of open enemies. So there's also explosive and shocking energy aimed at the U.S. ascendant from its open enemies. There is a consideration, therefore, that some of its open enemies may also take a tumble in shocking and unexpected ways. One thing about this, it could also mean an open enemy is falling from the sky, whatever you want to take that as, through violence or weaponry and shock and awe. It depends on what your viewpoint is about who is an actual enemy of the United States and who is a prescribed enemy of the United States of America. And we'll talk a little more about that shortly. Imhotep. It is the one who comes in peace. He brings wisdom, medicine, and architecture to the ancient Egyptians. He supposedly lived 2700 BC. Bullshit. This is an ancient post-Diluvian Atlantean diaspora myth. And basically, we're talking about something like a Hermes archetype who brought medicine and the knowledge of the sky and all of that to humanity. Every world culture has stories about these people who came who had all these powers and knowledge and shared it with the indigenous people. And that would have been the Atlantean civilization and its survivors, its diaspora survivors who spread around the globe, especially in South America. And in this regard, I wonder what this is for the world, because Imhotep is normally associated with healing, wisdom, and medicine, one of his main contributions to the world in the ancient myth. And Imhotep is connected to Saturn. That's called a conjunction. And Athena, which she's often involved in strategic abilities, war, but also knowledge and wisdom. So we have a huge knowledge and wisdom archetype happening here. And at the very same time, it's in the 11th house of the United States, which is its own version of its networks and its groups of influence and belonging within its own reality, its own culture. So I kind of see a little bit of breakthrough based on perhaps AI interfacing the medical community and its systems and maybe bringing us into, through US-based technology or understanding or studies or research or something like that, some kind of breakthrough. Mercury is the ruler of the ascendant here, and Mars is the ruler of Imhotep here. Mars is shocking, surprising, break-free, breakthrough, connected to medicine, and Saturn in Aries is a place where he's fallen, and Aries could indicate the head. So if there's any illnesses that connect to the head, there may be some breakthroughs. And of course, when we think of the head, we think of Alzheimer's or any kind of neurological disorder, Parkinson's disease, all of them neurological brain diseases. With a fallen Saturn, unable to heal or find a solution, we may, especially with Neptune, that's cognition as well in terms of lack thereof. Neptune gets very activated in dementia. So I think we're going to find a structural solution to dementia or brain what's the word, decay, not brain decay, but you know what I mean, neurological disorders that cause brain problems. So it's a prediction, and it comes to the United States through their research or researchers. Are you ready for that? Let's see what happens. My prediction is we're going to get a neurological disordered brain problem solved. And because many of these problems, like amyloid plaques, are not just for people with Alzheimer's, apparently, because many of these problems are interconnected, we're going to see a solution that may span across various neurological disorders. And it may be gene oriented. What do you call it? Gene therapeutics or something as well. That's always a possibility too, rather than a medication or a lifestyle change. But I'm excited by that possibility. That's some of the good news, as you can imagine. All right, what about the other stories here in this time frame? That's Atlantis. Atlantis, Mars, and Uranus can be shocking discoveries and breakthroughs about Atlantis, because this is the ascendant of America, but behind the ascendant, it can mean another country, a far-off land, especially given that the ascendant of America is here. But America may be co-involved or somehow implicated or participating in the discovery of lost civilizations and the research required to do that. And by the way, that definitely could look like the pyramid stuff, right, guys? Because under the pyramid, under the Sphinx, under the Giza Plateau, there are scientists are using some satellite radar technology to notice there are structures below. These are a team of scientists. I think one of them, or the main leader, is Italian. So let's see how that plays out. But it could be shocking surprises around the Atlantean discovery without looking at this as a U.S. chart even. This is what the world is seeing right now, whereas a potential for lost civilizations and lost knowledge to be recovered. In the U.S. Sibley chart, it says it may be occurring particularly related to the United States in some way over the next year. The asteroid America, which is very active when America is going through various challenges, whatever they may be, the asteroid America is active, but it's with the South Node, and it's in the 4th house of the solar return chart. This would be a loss of some kind, a surrender or a recognition of depletion regarding something that America is up to. In this chart, it's land for the country. It's the farms, it's territory, it's land based, okay? It's property, it's home, it's the homeland, and there is this decrease in the home or homeland, ruled by a retrograde Mercury connected to the Hygeia, the health asteroid. Now, while I say there may be a medical breakthrough up here, there may be something to do with financing around health and health financing and healthcare and Medicare, and some turbulence and superior difficulties going on over the year, where the United States is losing traction in this regard in their homeland medical financing system. This is the 8th house for the United States of trade with other countries as well in the Sibley chart. And so it can also be financial health challenges connected to international trade agreements with other countries, and therefore a depletion of potency in the homeland. And this again, Virgo, is about health. The health of the people, the health of the country, the health monies as well. Over here with the sun at the United States, 13-degree sun, right? This asteroid is the Hopis, like the Hopi predictions, the Hopi prophecies, if you want to go there. And over here is Aspolus, which is the prophecies as well. Aspolus was a centaur. He could tell a future event was coming, a war between the Lapis and the Centaurs based on something he foresaw. No one wanted to listen. And so basically it's predictive, Hopi predictive Aspolus prophecy. So prophecy and prediction that has been forecast for the United States is highly active, but it's in the solar return chart, a coffers of the states. It's its money that it has, its bank and money, its gold reserves, it's wealth possessed by a nation, and prophecy about that. And then with a Hygeia here, you could say, what is the fiscal health of America looking like? And why is there maybe predictions that there will be problems? And maybe those are coming to pass during this particular year. In the United States Sibley natal chart, the position of the power of the party in power, right? We've got one party in power. And that right now is the Republican Party. And it's also, the leadership, rulership archetype of the 10th house. In the Sibley chart, the 10th house is Virgo. And that South Node America puts it in an upside down, topsy turvy thing, a loss of power for the Republican Party. Right now, as I speak, the Republican Party has the dominating role in the United States, and the party not in official power through the electorate process, of course, is the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is currently Pisces in the sky for this year, for this time, for the United States until its next election, where Virgo represents the Trump party and the Republican power party. So think about the flipping of the script. There's an increase of power in the house of the leadership and power to rule your country, USA. And this is the midterm elections. Okay. There is no way on God's green earth that there's not going to be a big, giant Democratic sweep. I think that they may take both the House and the Senate. And if that is to happen, there's a wholesale worldly success volume up increase of that party and its power in the country after the midterm elections in November. And there's a lot going on in November in other charts that show massive turbulence for Donald Trump and his own hold on power and his health. So this could clearly be a big sting for him, in which he's going to lose a lot of his faith in his own movement, his own power. But certainly I'll think that there's going to be a crippling of the executive branch to make decisions without legislative backup. And because no longer will they have control of the two legislative bodies, is my humble take on it. And so you can see that this is happening, and most likely what I said is most likely true. That moon, 1313 math, that moon was full and then it lost its fullness, and so it's losing its light. So a full moon here would be really potent for the Democratic Party. This is a moon after the full moon, which is called the waning gibbous moon. And the waning gibbous moon is a shaman moon. And it also connects to deeper themes of death and rebirth. And so it's an intense lunation. It's when you look at the moon and it's not quite full, it's missing some side colors, side light. And so it's not a half moon, it's between the full and the half. So that's a lunation in the house of power, and it's losing light. So the power structures that be are losing power. They're waning. Okay. There's some good news down here, I hope. Jupiter is in a media house. This is like literally the media landscape. And it's not literally in a country. It's like where the press briefings are happening, right? There you have a feminine energy. Maybe that's Carolyn Levitt. And then you have lots of Jupiter, big energy, big news. And not just press briefings by the government, but just the media industry is very active in this year. There's an excessive amount of information and news coming through the US press corps into the public sphere for whatever darn reason. And Isis is here, the goddess who floods the Nile River Valley. And you're noticing Imhotep, Isis, and Atlantis. Yes, and Hopi. A lot of ancient archetypes are playing out here for some reason. But with Isis, she's also women in childbirth and protection and medicine for women and motherhood. And also Jupiter is about children. So we're going to see a lot of news about children and welfare of children and mothers coming through for some reason with Venus, the feminine energy, likely through feminine archetypes. So in other words, women in leadership. We don't know who the new leadership will be in November, December, January, February, right? You're going to have a whole change of senators and congresswomen, and we'll see powerful women speaking out about women and children health and the rights of women and children as well. One thing is that Jupiter, when he's blowing things up here and he's baking into this chart, he's still a visible planet. He's going to go invisible shortly after this, but we can still see him in the sky. He's not far enough away from the sun to be invisible, which is a good thing. He's acting out for the entire year in a very worldly way, in a very visible manner. This is outer goodness, outer riches. And because social media landscape, it's not the 11th, I've done my research, because the social media landscape, all the website platforms are down here, there's literally an explosion of baby platforms coming, guys. Get ready for new platforms we haven't seen coming into being, because this is children, Jupiter, babies are being born. Venus is fertility, sperm and ovum. There's going to be an interesting year in the United States in which new social media platforms are generated within the US culture and media landscape. So it could just be new big channels blooming on social media, but it could also be new whole directions, right? Like a new version of something we haven't seen before. That's my take on it. It's ruled by the sun, and the sun is retrograde beside a retrograde Mercury. And I wonder if there's some older platforms too returning with renewed vigor. Like nothing will ever replace TikTok, because TikTok fell from the sky thanks to a Zionist overreach grab of that, Larry Ellison from Oracle. And so now you can't speak freely without being removed from the platform. So a lot of young people are looking for that. And Mercury rules the youth. So we're talking about the Gen Zs and the Gen Xs. And those people may be going back, right, to readdress the loss of their favorite platform where they could speak freely. And there may be a new competitor to TikTok. So I predict a new competitor in social media that is TikTok 2.0 that really invites the young people back to social media. That's my take on that as well. All right. Any last thoughts I have for here? I'm just going to tell you Boris Cece's here. This is a fictional god based on lies from a book by Kurt Vonnegut. And it's the lies you tell yourself you desperately want to believe, or your beliefs are so, you believe something so profoundly, yet your belief is contagious. And that energy of Boris Cece on Neptune, the god of confabulation, delusion, illusion, spin cycles, controlled narratives, conspiracy as well. It's a powerful energy. There's a potential movement that could be trying to cripple the conspiracy narrative. I don't mean cripple. What I'm trying to say is because we see Saturn here, and Saturn says, I want to show you what's real. Neptune says, I'll give you a fantasy. Do you want to believe it? But Neptune can't always do that when Saturn's that close. So there's a problem. Neptune's ability to weave stories that you will believe that are false, like who really JFK and whatever actually happened to Charlie Kirk, unless you just buy the bullshit, buy the Fed slop as they call it these days for the FBI stuff on Kirk. So you will see an inability of this in the larger social landscape of groups of people to be digestible. And you're going to notice that with Saturn here, there will be an inability to weave these yarns in ways that literally stick for people. Right. People aren't going to yet necessarily all agree with every conspiracy theorist, but there's going to be a lot more inability to hold on to the narrative control through manipulation, propaganda, Hasbro, if you want to say it that way. Even you have people like Tucker Carlson who says, I'll no longer vote Republican, and here's why. People are whistleblowing as well. Tulsi Gabbard happens to be an Aries sun, and I do believe in Mars is up with her Aries sun as well. I believe it's in her 9th house. I do think she's a Leo rising. And because of that, by rectification of her chart, because of that, she's got a lot of solar life force energy in that 11th house. She's involved in whatever this is. So there is her ability to make a sober adjustment, Saturn, a real reality check about what the spin cycle is trying to say. She's already been doing that by disclosure stuff. And it is my belief and prediction that she will make an attempt to run for the presidency in 2028. And she's setting herself apart so that she can be a candidate separate from the administration that Trump has. So she wants to be divided from that administration so that she can become a candidate for the first president of the United States. My last prediction, not based on this chart, but it is a prediction, the United States will have a female president next election. The United States Sibley chart is on the outside wheel of the Sibley birthday chart, of the birthday chart for the United States. Sometimes that helps you find little stories that you might have missed, little details in the devil that is here. One of the things that I'm noting right away, of course, is how in the natal Sibley chart of the United States, in the house of its open enemies, there is a Uranus at 8 degrees, as well as a Mars. Now, that 8 degree is very potent, and it will be activated later in July. This 8 degree is connected to the time, in the U.S. history where the device made with plutonium was dropped on Japan 2 times, right? And this now is almost a flip the script. There's something about in the house of open enemies for the United States, there is an impingement and danger in the United States. Is it on U.S. soil? I don't know. Could be a base around the world. So the United States is under attack energy, and it's not like verbal attack. All right. It's literally attack. So the United States is in danger. The United States is not in a place of safety in the next year, primarily, of course, based on the fact that the United States has now been complicit in crimes of war. But there's a lot of countries who are angry, but there's not very many who would launch an attack. And so there's actually, because it's logical, you'll be decimated if you do. And so if there is an attack, the problem is the word false flag, right? Or manufactured consensus. So be cautious to assign blame should something like that happen in the next year. And there's a lot of intensity in the fall. I consider that a danger zone for the USA. All right. The next thing I want you to know about when I look at this chart as a general vibe, and I've overlapped the two charts and I'm thinking about what it could mean. Because Icarus, who falls from power like his wings melt, is over the midheaven of the Sibley chart, of the solar return Sibley chart. And this falling wings, melting wings story in the United States natal chart is in the media house. There may be media news stories about loss of power and meltdowns of people in positions of high recognition in the world of the United States itself. Now, the ninth house tends to be more bureaucratic and administrative energy than the hand of the king, like J.D. Vance, the vice president, people who are near positions of power, but they're not the top power dog. So there is something there to be said that there may be some loss of major, like a cabinet member, chief of staff, Susie Wiles would be up here, and they may be leaving their position, right? Maybe I think Susie Wiles had a health scare, and I'm not wishing anything bad for her, but there can be dropping down from positions of power, loss of power. That's a moon, which is a woman. So Susie Wiles is an example of that. Already Tulsi Gabbard's dropped down off of her power seat, but look for more women in the administration who are not in the executive branch themselves, except for maybe chief of staff, hand of the king. So very clearly, maybe Susie Wiles, I'm not going to bring her chart up, is an example of someone in the next year who will step down from her position in the administration. Donald Trump is a Leo rising. I don't need to put his chart here. I hope you guys know that his ascendant is at 29 degrees of Leo on the star Regulus, fame, power, glory, riches, authority, and potentially a fall from power due to hubris or pride. It's in the star's code. And with his Apollo also there, the sun god, to be a savior, a martyr. Yes, I know. And also with the asteroid America on his ascendant, he was coded in the simulation of life to play the role of the King of America. Now, right here, his ascendant will fall across the media landscape over the asteroid for health. Health in the Sibley chart overlaps the Venus in the media landscape. Now, it's possible, because this is the Sibley's health issues. This is the natal Sibley chart for America, and it happens to be the ninth house, right, which is foreign policy, foreign land, legal and justice matters as well. But there could be a literal thing going on, very literal, as Donald Trump finds himself in a media landscape with a lot of energy here. And it may be, again, more media stories about his health. But with Venus here, it makes me wonder why she's in the mix. Because Venus in the Sibley chart is landing just shy of his ascendant, right over his Mars. There's a possibility also that we may have an announcement by the end of this, by July of 27, that he is separating from Melania. So I'm making a prediction that Melania and Trump will announce a legal separation in the calendar year of 2026, July to 2027. That would make a lot of sense under this chart. Okay, so that's what we have. I'm not going to spend much time here. There's so many things I could have talked about, and many things I will have talked about if I had more time or interest. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. How do you think this will play out? What things did you see in the chart that I might have missed? And do you think that Donald Trump and Melania will separate in the next 12 months after the birthday? Do you think the United States is under attack, or is it a false narrative created by a country who wishes the United States to go to war? The only country that would engineer that would be a blue and white flag country, in my humble opinion. And you can do one more thing with the solar return chart that I didn't do, and I'm not going to pull the chart back up. You can perfect it from the sun, and you can profect it from the ascendant, and perfecting it from the ascendant, maybe to find the danger zone of attack toward the US from an open enemy. Okay. I'm doing that perfection right now. So let me look at the chart. I would say that would be more likely to show up in July. It could actually happen in July or October. So in July or October, the United States may find itself in harm's way by people who are unhappy with its way in the world, or by a manufactured consensus event that's supposed to be blamed on another country so that war is sanctified. So those are two windows of concern. And in terms of the separation, if he was going to separate from Melania, and then I kind of put that closer to news that might blow out into the media landscape in September. Okay, so those are thoughts. And if it doesn't blow out in September, then it could blow out in January of 27. All right, so those are some examples. All right, guys, that was the US chart. Let me know what you think. Give me your feedback. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You can find me on Substack, Patreon, and you can find me, of course, on my members only here. For every Monday, I do an extended members only version of my chatting about the sky. And I'm also going to start doing some live streams here for my members only, but I have to get some tech issues addressed first. I think Riverside might be my solution. All right, see you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.
Lunatic astrology.